Hello, Professor ХАНКЕ.
Good day, Martin. How are you?
We're fine. Here is a little bit 10 degrees. It's a little bit cold. In Baltimore, what's happening in Baltimore?
Cold. It's global warming never hit this year.
Here in Bulgaria, we argue, how much is the real inflation in Bulgaria? How much? Do you know? Do you have statistics?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I monitor it very carefully, and the inflation rate now, the official, I'm just looking at my spreadsheet for Bulgaria.
Because you understand, we don't believe the official date.
Official is 2.2.
Yeah, but
my guess, this is just a guess, not a measurement. My guess is that it's a little higher than that.
Little.
And the reason for that is that the money supply, the growth rate in the money supply that would be consistent with Bulgaria hitting its inflation target of 2% is about 6.3%. That's Hanke's golden growth rate for the money supply in Bulgaria. That would be money supply measured by M3 should be growing at about 6.3% per year. It's growing at about 9.3. Mm-hmm. So it's growing a little bit more rapidly than would be the rate of growth that would allow you to hit the 2% target. And the official rate is just a little over 2%. So my guess is that the inflation's a little bit higher than the official.
Mm-hmm. And in Croatia, how much is the inflation in Croatia?
In Croatia is 3.4.
But this is official too.
That's official.
Yeah, because they try to put us in the European Eurozone, and they try to say to us that the inflation is low. That's my theory. I'm not an economist.
Well, my own view about this, I've watched this debate in Bulgaria over the inflation numbers. When the new government was formed, remember there was a lot of debate about this because the new government, in all its stupidity, said that we're going into the Eurozone by 2026, and then there was a big debate about inflation and what the number was and so forth. My own view is they dropped this idea, by the way. At first, the government says, we're doing it, and then they indicated that they weren't even going to file a report. They weren't going to do it. I think what happened. This is a guess. I haven't talked to any experts about this, and I really I'm guessing, but usually my guesses are pretty accurate. Mm-hmm. And my guess is that they determined there's no way they were going to meet the target, and it would have been a waste of time, and Bulgaria would have looked bad, by the way. Mm-hmm. So they dropped the idea. I think they should drop the whole idea of the euro thing completely, as you know. I think it's a stupid waste of time in Bulgaria. They have many other things to be fixing and paying attention to.
But let's speak for Trump. Do you like Trump now? Now?
Well, I prefer to stay nonpartisan and look at policies one by one, because what Trump has done, in sports they call it flooding the zone. Mm-hmm. He's flooded the zone which is a brilliant move, by the way. Mm-hmm. Because the opposition is totally disoriented. They have no idea what they're doing because he's fired so many missiles at once. In that sense, I think he's doing exactly what I would recommend, and that is flood the zone. I mean, he had a package of things that he wanted to be implemented, and the best way in politics to implement them is to flood the zone.
But
so that part is good. I think other part that's good is the whole idea of finally getting control over the borders of the United States and reestablishing a sovereign state. I mean, you know all about that in Bulgaria. Bulgaria is pretty good, by the way, at protecting its borders. Mm-hmm. The Bulgarians never have been very big in open borders.
But how do you comment on his first decisions? It's a little bit crazy, a little bit...
I mean, it's Trump.
Yeah.
It's very Trump.
Yeah.
He's a very... And he learned from the first term he was president to get organized. So the first time he became president, it was kind of chaos. He had no plan. He didn't even know what the word plan meant. This time, it's a different story. He has a whole range of things that he's planned to try to change, and he's moving forward with those things. So from Trump's point of view, I think he's done a great job.
Yes, but this with the Colombian flights...
You have to realize that the president of Colombia is a Marxist. He's an ultra left-wing ideologue. And so what happened is that they had a number of illegal Colombians who had criminal records. They put those Colombians on a plane to send them back, actually 2 planes, I think, to send them back to Colombia. And the president of Colombia said, no, we're not letting them in.
Yeah.
Which was a stupid thing on his part, totally stupid, by the way, because they were Colombians. I mean, it would be like if there were a plane load of Bulgarians with Bulgarian passports, and the government says, no, we're not going to let you Bulgarians come back into Bulgaria. I mean, it was completely dumb. Mm-hmm. And Trump countered the thing within minutes and said he was going to slap a tariff on Colombia and really put Colombia in hot water. And then the president of Colombia countered. He said, well, we're going to put a 50% tariff on the U.S.
Yeah.
Now the Colombians have backed away. I mean, Colombia is it's a pretty small, quite corrupt country. Remember, the drug cartels are big in Colombia, and they have all kinds of problems. They had a civil war. It isn't a hot war, but it's kind of a cold one. They have all kinds of problems, and now the president wanted to get in a fight with the United States. I mean, stupid.
Yeah. Do you see the logic in Trump's decisions?
I see a lot of one of the big things he's done is this shutting the border down and regularizing it. So if you want to come in, you go through a regular process to come in.
Yeah.
Establishing border control is for a sovereign is essentially the same thing as establishing private property rights for a private individual. So this is very, very important and fundamental. So you said his policies. Well, he signed hundreds of executive orders. I'm giving you the big one. The big one is the reestablishing sovereignty in the United States, and by the way, picking up these illegals, starting with illegal criminals with criminal records, murder, robbery, rape, and so forth. They know who they are, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're arresting them. That was logical, and I think it's a very good idea.
Me too. But is it important for you to rename the Gulf of Mexico? What was this?
No, I don't think it's very important. Who cares?
But it's his decision too. Why he make this? Why he speak these things? The Gulf of Mexico will be Gulf of Mexico because it's known like Gulf of Mexico now.
Well, you have to realize you've got the President of the United States. He understands a fundamental factor. Either you run the show or the show runs you.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you have to remember the United States, it's an imperial power. And there's something called the Monroe Doctrine.
I know.
Have you ever heard of the Monroe Doctrine?
Yeah, I know it.
The Monroe Doctrine says that the U.S. runs a show in Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
And no other foreign countries like China are welcome. Mm-hmm. It's a U.S. territory, and that's what the Gulf of America thing is all about. It's a symbolic thing, flexing a little imperial power muscle.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a little bit dangerous.
Well, it certainly isn't standard diplomacy. It isn't the way our friend Talleyrand would have proceeded. Napoleon, remember, when he started, he won a lot of wars. He conquered a lot of territory.
Yeah.
But then he lost. And who ended up saving the French boundary?
Mm-hmm.
Talleyrand.
Yeah.
And that was done with diplomacy in Vienna, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a famous book in the United States. It's in English language. It's probably even in Bulgarian. It's written by Dale Carnegie. How to win friends and influence people. That's the title of the thing.
I know this.
And what I would say with Trump and renaming the Gulf of Mexico and things like that, this is no way to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
This is more like gunboat diplomacy.
Mm-hmm. What about Greenland?
Greenland. By the way, Greenland is a very interesting case because for the Danes and for Greenland, if the U.S. did a leveraged buyout, and what I mean by that, if they paid 2.5 times the annual GDP of Denmark mm-hmm. for Greenland, you know, we're talking about $1 trillion, and that $1 trillion could be put in a sovereign wealth fund in Denmark, and they'd be in fabulous shape for 100 years.
Yeah.
They'd have a huge sovereign wealth fund. They wouldn't have to worry about finances. The population of Greenland, we're talking about 56,000 people. They'd all be millionaires. So I think for the Danes and for Greenland, that kind of leverage buyout would be a good deal. From the Danish point of view and from the Greenland residents' point of view, it would be a good deal.
But the international law, what about international law in this deal? Is it legal? This deal?
Of course. If the Danish government agreed and the Greenland agreed, they could do a deal. There have been all kinds of these things historically. I mean, the United States, by the way, a lot of the United States, we bought it.
I know it, yeah.
And by the way, I recommended. Remember the Falkland War?
Yeah, between Argentina and Great Britain, yeah, Falklands.
Okay, so there's an issue over the Falkland Islands. The British call it the Falkland Islands. The Argentines call it the Malvinas. And the Argentines claim it's theirs, and the British claim it's theirs. It's now British. So Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of Great Britain at the time. Her economic guru was Sir Alan Walters. Now, Sir Alan Walters was a good friend of mine and a colleague of mine at Johns Hopkins. He was a professor at Johns Hopkins University, and we actually wrote 2 books together. We wrote a regular column for Forbes magazine for 10 years together, and we worked together with Thatcher. He was Thatcher's main advisor. And with the Falkland War, when that came, Walters and I came up with a market-based solution. Mm-hmm. And we said if Argentina wanted it, they would put in a certain amount in escrow for each Falkland resident. Let's say $1 million if they wanted it. Yeah. And then you'd have a referendum, and the Falkland Islanders would decide. They'd say, no, we don't want the $1 million, and we don't want to become Argentina. Or they would say, vote yes, we do want the $1 million each, and we want to become part of Argentina. Mm-hmm. So these kinds of thinking like this, with this money involved, is not highly unusual.
But I have a big question here. You say to me a lot of times that the United States print dollars. We print dollars and you buy states and islands with these dollars. Is it economy? Is it business? Because you have a printer.
Well, you could buy it that way. That isn't what they have in mind. They should just keep the flow of money coming from the printing press exactly on the inflation target, whatever that happens to be. So you feed enough money in to hit the inflation target and enough to grow the real economy and enough to satisfy the increased demand for dollars that occurs every year. So it's 2 plus 2 plus 2, by the way. Mm-hmm. It roughly, just back of the envelope. 6% is the golden growth rate. That accommodates a 2% inflation target, a 2% real growth rate in the United States, which the potential of the United States growth is about 2.2%. And the increased demand for dollars in the United States, it's about 2% per year. 2 plus 2 plus 2. And that's what they should be doing. That's not what they're doing, by the way.
It's easy when you print dollars. That's what I think. Do you know Elon Musk?
I know who he is. I don't know him personally.
What will Elon Musk work in this government?
His role is to be the chief of a new department called Department of Government Efficiency. Yeah. Now that the name of that Department of Government Efficiency, it's a contradiction in terms because you can't make the government efficient. And I think Musk will find out, like all businessmen find out, that you can't run the government like you run a business. Mm-hmm. In other words, if things aren't working right at Tesla or SpaceX or any of these other companies that Musk has, he gets rid of people. You can't do that in the government. It's a very complicated situation. You have an incentive in the private sector to correct things so that more money comes in than goes out. You make a profit, and you stay in business. That's the private sector. Now, let's move to the public sector. The public sector bureaucrats and the politicians, they have no checks on them. At the end of the year, there isn't any profit and loss statement. Mm-hmm. No one is looking to see were the benefits greater than the costs that were spent. No one ever looks at that in the public sector. So Musk is going to find out how this thing works. Now, as you know, I was one of President Reagan's advisors. I was on the President's Council of Economic Advisors in Reagan's first term in the early 1980s. And I was in charge of privatization. And that was essentially the same role that Musk has, to shrink the government. I was in charge of shrinking the government and privatizing assets that were owned by the U.S. government. Let me just give you one example of the troubles you run into.
Okay.
We have many military bases and naval bases, Air Force bases in the United States, and a lot of those are surplus. We don't really need them, and they're not really used. So I went in and I wanted to privatize some of those. But each base is located in a state in the United States, and each state has 2 U.S. senators, and there'll be 1 congressman in the district where that base is located. And they will dig in their heels and fight to retain it as a public base. They don't want it privatized. So that's the kind of thing that Musk is going to run into. Back in those Reagan days, I was involved with the Grace Commission. The Grace Commission came up with 2,500 recommendations to make the government more efficient. The number of those recommendations that was implemented, you can count them on both hands. In principle, as they say, it's a great idea. In practice, it doesn't work. And that's why I'm quite skeptical about the progress that Musk will make on making the government more efficient. I wish him luck. I mean, it would be great to make the government more efficient. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, but Musk is oriented towards cryptocurrencies, and you are skeptical for this.
The biggest fundraisers for the campaign for Trump being elected were coming from crypto. And in a way, they bought a piece of Trump. So Trump is surrounded by a lot of pro-crypto types.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be in for a big surprise with crypto because it isn't what it's advertised to be. It's not money, and it's not used by money. It is used for criminal activity, criminal transactions.
In Bulgaria, a lot of people don't think like you.
What about the phantom Bulgarian lady, the crypto?
Ruja.
The last time we saw her, she was in Greece. I don't know where she is now. No one knows where she is.
She's dead, we think.
Well, she might be because she disappeared without a trace.
Yeah.
In the crypto world, this kind of thing happens a lot. Crypto is not connected to anything. And bank money, which is, by the way, whether it's a euro or any other kind of money, is connected to the real economy. Crypto is not. If you want to speculate in cryptos, that's your private business. But you should be aware that you're entering a highly speculative market. It can go up a lot, it can go down. Now, real estate, about 3 years ago, there was an investment conference in Sofia, and I spoke to the investment conference, and they asked me at that time what I thought a good investment was. This was before. This was right during the pandemic. This was in 2020. I said real estate.
Real estate. But the prices are growing. 300,000, 400,000. In the center of Sofia, 800,000. Is it normal?
Well, I don't know if it's normal. It's real. I don't even know if it's a bubble or not.
Yeah.
But in general, I would, and one thing I did emphasize, by the way, when I was talking, I wasn't talking about residential real estate. I was talking about land.
Aha.
I was talking about land in Bulgaria.
Mm-hmm. Because with the real estate, maybe speculations too.
Real estate does, by the way, go through cycles. It's about an 18-year cycle for real estate all over the world. So maybe if the cycle started 3 years ago in Bulgaria, maybe you have 15 more years to go before it goes down.
Yeah, I understand. And you say what?
By the way, I'm not making any recommendation about residential real estate in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Just to make this clear, because I don't know the details in Bulgaria. And unfortunately, by the way, I should add that when I was President Stoyanov's advisor, and in the early 90s, even before, Mrs. Hanke was very much interested in buying some real estate in Bulgaria.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we would have.
What are you thinking for Chinese yuan now?
Oh, the Chinese yuan's going down. It's going to be weak all year, and it's a currency that has capital controls around it. So the dollar is king. There's no question about that. The yuan can't compete with the U.S. dollar until they get rid of the capital controls. But they have another problem, and that is the economy is very weak in China right now, and they money supply, by the way, the money supply growth, to hit Hanke's golden growth rate in China, the money supply should be growing at about 11% per year, and it's growing at 7 1/4% per year, and that way below the golden growth rate, and the inflation rate is zero. So what China has done, they've changed their monetary policy, and it looks like they're going to lower the interest rates even more, and I think it will remain very weak all year.
Two questions for the Bulgaria and the region. What do you think? Do Trump know something about Bulgaria?
He doesn't know anything about Bulgaria. He's focused on, he and his son-in-law are focused on Serbia and building a huge luxury hotel in Belgrade.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only place in the Balkans he knows anything about.
Because of business, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. But
he's a real estate guy.
Yeah. But the important question for us is your forecast for the war in Ukraine.
It's over.
It's over. The war is over.
Yeah, the Russians have won. Haven't you figured that out? What the deal will look like that they craft, I don't know. But the Russians will have two conditions. Number one, the Russians have unambiguously, they've won the war. Period. That's the end.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, how will the settlement of the war end?
Settlement.
And the Russians have two hard conditions that Trump will have a lot of trouble with. And one is the fact that the territory, the 4 Donbass that they've taken will go to Russia, and Crimea will remain in Russia. That's the land part of the thing.
Yeah.
The other part is that Ukraine will never enter NATO. Those are the two big things, and Trump will have trouble with that. In the U.S. context.
Yeah.
So it might end up that there is a ceasefire, but things really are never settled. That it isn't clean. That's one possibility.
Mm-hmm.
the other possibility is that the conditions of Russia would be met and it would be settled. That would be it. It would be settled. I think the best thing for Ukraine would be to adopt the same procedure that was adopted by Austria after the Second World War, to be neutral. Mm-hmm. That for Ukraine, that would be the best thing. But I don't think the Ukrainians are smart enough to do what the Austrians did.
Yeah. But we hope here in the Balkan Peninsula that Trump is not a war lover.
Oh, he's not. He doesn't want to fight wars. He wants them all to stop, which is good.
Yeah.
But the question is, how do you actually do that? By the way, there is one other place that Trump does know something about the Balkans. Let me pose the question to you. Where is the other spot?
I hope Sofia. I hope maybe we have here one place, Mladost one.
Well, yeah. Well, that's kind of wishful thinking. But
yeah. Maybe Greece.
No.
Okay, I will ask.
Keep guessing. I'll give you three more chances.
Macedonia or Albania?
Albania.
Albania. Why?
Albania. Kushner wants to build a resort on an Albanian island.
Bravo, not Trump. This is a little bit sad because Trump... Sorry, I want to say that it's a little bit sad because Trump knows something for Albania and Tirana, the capital, but maybe he knows nothing for Sofia and Bulgaria.
My view, I think, as you know, I have a bias. I think Bulgaria is the greatest place in the Balkans.
Thank you. But Trump don't think like you.
I should say there is one other place that is fabulous. Maybe even more fabulous. That's Croatia. The Adriatic coast is
Croatia.
is the place.
Yeah.
So from a touristic point of view, let us say Croatia would be number one. From kind of an overall point of view, I have a Bulgarian bias.
Yeah. Is it Albania a secure place for investment?
No.
No. Why?
As you know, I was an advisor to Albania, and right after the communists fell, and at that time, what was I doing? Well, I was trying to talk them into doing what Bulgaria did, put a currency board in. They would have been a lot better off, but they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Professor Hanke, thank you for this interview. Thank you very much.
Martin, it's great to be with you. It's always great to be in Bulgaria, even if I'm on Zoom in Bulgaria.
Yeah. We want to invite you, but we are very small capitalists here.
We'll figure out some way and be back to pay you a visit. Good to be with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you one more time.